So I'm going to have to read this here because I can't see that. What it says is the knowledge capital, as a function of GDP, we've reduced 60% of our research and development in the past 40 years. So the things that we used to do related to the space race, the Cold War, that drove a whole bunch of ancillary technological innovation and advancement that fueled our economy as a nation is no longer being funded at the levels that it was. As a matter of fact, it's 60% as a function of gross domestic product, less than it was that period of prior. The way this, I want to kind of step off the subsequent part of this briefing, but the fact that we no longer fund that research and development is driving educational behaviors. We don't make those people any longer because those jobs don't exist. The problem is you won't be able to fund your military if you don't maintain your economic superiority. And so you'll quickly no longer be able to give your children, and I'm talking about one generation from now, the United States that you inherited from your parents. And that's what this Gathering Storm document that I told you to read is going to tell you if you go back and take a look at it. So the reason I'm telling you this is not to make you stay up tonight, but to tell you how I told you that the U.S. government is incapable, and I say this not as a derogatory statement towards the federal government, but politically, it's an untenable agenda to try and move away from the concept of no child left behind at the federal level. And believe me, I believe in education and equality for everybody. That's not the point. The point is, no child left behind is diluting the ability of any child to be intellectually challenged. And so we don't have this intellectually elite being identified and challenged and motivated to go on to do the things that we need for them to do as a nation. Because the federal government is not funding research and development, and because it's taken the stance that it's taken as a Department of Education, we're working locally, regionally, to develop a academic outreach program that will supplement or sidestep some of the deficiencies that are in the federal program. And the idea is, that's getting a lot of national recognition, is that what we are doing has the replicability to be taken and put in other regions and used as a model for other communities. Because what we're doing is not different from what we did is copied it from other communities that have been very successful at this. So Huntsville, Alabama, Oak Ridge, Tennessee, Los Alamos, New Mexico. What we want is a concentration of knowledge-based workers here, because the byproduct of that workforce produces, for us, selfishly, a much better community in which to live. But secondarily, it puts back into the U.S. economy that which is being taken out by the absence of funding and the absence of educational programs. So if you read this thing, and I'll skip to a couple of little factoids that are in here, but the disservice we're doing our children is pretty significant. This is just a couple of pieces of information. We're 48th in the world in terms of the quality of math and science programs that we teach our high schoolers. Part of the reason that is because 69% of the U.S. public school systems, 5th through 8th grade, are taught by mathematics teachers without a degree or certificate in mathematics. And 93% of the U.S. public school students, 5th through 8th grade, are taught by physical science teachers who don't have a degree or a physical science certificate. 98% of our kids in sciences don't have a teacher qualified to teach them. And you lose kids primarily that you want to see advance at the 8th grade level. That's where they drop off the map and they go off and become liberal arts or visual arts graduates. And there's nothing against liberal arts and visual arts graduates, but if you look at the statistics related to what we're doing to replace the attrition of scientists and engineers in this country, we're going to hit a wall in about 10 years. And there's not any of those kids being made, and there's not anybody left old enough. I mean, we're dying. Those of us that are still in this thing are going away and retiring. And if you look at the demographics of the defense industrial base as a workforce and the federal agencies as a workforce and the age and attrition associated with those organizations that provide us with national security, it's really scary. So let's see what the next slide is. That's just another piece of information related to, scare the pants off your factoid stuff. So we go past that. Next one, please. So what we're doing locally is to the Cyber Innovation Center, among a variety of other things that we're doing. I started off telling you that industry-wise, we're going out and trying to court a bunch of knowledge-based work to come to our community. Well, they want to know where we're going to get the people to do the work that they're bringing to our part of the world. And one of the major attractions we have is that a lot of people from the military want to retire to our community, and they're good quality citizens. We want to have those people. But we also have to grow a certain amount of them as well. And this is something that most of our defense industrial base partners, as well as our agency partners, are most interested in. So what we do is we start at the kindergarten level and we work through the primary education system to get kids at least somewhat motivated. Like some of you in the room might remember the space race when you were an astronaut when you grew up. It's kind of like putting something out there that says, there's a career path for you that would be enjoyable and interesting and something you might want to pursue. We identify those kids out of those programs that we do, particularly between the 8th and 9th and 10th grade level. And we provide these cyber camps. So at 5 different universities this summer, multiple high schools from the region, East Texas, Southern Arkansas, North Louisiana, will put their rising 9th graders into a camp with their science teachers. And we spend 2 weeks of professional development time with the science teachers before they go to the camp. What that does is that allows us to systemically infect a larger group of kids than just that crew that comes to the camp. Because we send them back from the camp with all of the tools that they used in the camp and an infectious crew of kids that have had an exposure to these things. And so, for example, at Louisiana Tech, what we do is a robotics and engineering camp. So these kids, for example, the first crew, this was 3 years ago, we did the first one at Tech. 6 kids from Parkway High School, my alma mater, who attended that camp. 5 of them are going to the engineering at Louisiana Tech next year. So, I don't have the statistics on everybody, but I would like to say that would be a wonderful case study if we could perpetuate that kind of enrollment capability. Now, those same kids from Parkway and Benton High School competed for the first time in a challenge program, a cyber challenge program. And what they did was we hosted an urban challenge on cyber. We let them build robots that competed with other schools, and so the winners of those robotics competitions left here from a regional and went to a national competition. These kids from Parkway High School that the Bossier Parish Police Jury paid to go to the national competition had 2 months to prepare for the regional and 6 months after that to prepare for the national. They lost by 0.03 of a point to the previous year's winner who had multiple teams in the competition. What we've got is a really capable group of kids in this community who really don't get the opportunity to apply what it is they're capable of doing, because in education right now, if you got kids, you know that what they do year-round is teach the test. They get measured. The school gets measured by the results of the testing that takes place in the latter part of the school year. And so what the schools do in order to satisfy the various departments of education that they're responsive to is to teach what's in that test. And what we lose in the process is analytical thinking within our kids, because they can take that test and pass it, but what they know about the application of what they've learned is limited. So we're trying to provide them with an application-based learning environment. My daughter is a freshman at Benton, and she's in the first. They have a block system, so like a semester system out there. And she's the first student in a cyber curriculum, and the cyber curriculum doesn't have a textbook. It has requirements that have to be obtained in order to check off the fact that the science requirements for 9th grade have been met, but all of it's done with a robot. And so, she's getting exposure to the kind of application, hands-on education that we kind of abandoned. This group of people didn't get the same kind of education they're teaching right now in the school systems, because we were taught analytical thinking. We weren't taught to take a test. And I've got a son who's a senior, and let me tell you, we've sat for the ACT 3 times now, because there's a process to take and doing well on the test, and the scores have gotten better every time. I'm grateful. He's going to Louisiana Tech to study mechanical and electrical engineering as a double major. Not that any of you care, but if he does that, the opportunity for him when he gets out of school with a decent grade point average is to pick up a $100,000 a year job in the local community, and he'll be selling himself to the highest bidders who want those kids because those kids are not available. So I'm excited about his ability to be a provider, and a father, just as a function of the current career decision. I hope he doesn't change his degree like I did several times while he was in college, but by the time he gets out, he'll be a pretty well sought after kid. If you look at the top of the triangles on all those things up there, what we're trying to do is identify and continue to advance those little minds that we're picking up and saying, these are capabilities that we want to nurture and cultivate. The thing that's interesting about it is federal agencies have come to us and said, we want those kids. I was talking to a kid this morning who's a senior at Tech, and he wants to do an internship, and NSA wants him to go up there, and they want to give him a security clearance that involves a polygraph, and they want to teach him how to do certain things that only a few people in the world know how to do, and they're asking us to provide as many of those kinds of kids as we can to them. And so that's what this thing does. The next slide shows you that it not only identifies kids in the core, that yellow triangle, that are advancing within the cyber curriculum and cyber degree programs, but we're identifying scientists that can go off into any number of different directions, whether it's physics or mathematics or engineering. What we want to do is give those kids who have that bent, and if you look at the way other nations do this, we're not doing our educational system the way others do. In India or Germany, if you want to advance to a higher career opportunity, you have got to score every year to keep on that path, and if you don't score, you wash out. And so it's highly competitive in the school systems around the rest of the world except here, and that's why we don't have, if you look at the further statistical information about this gathering storm, we are failing so miserably in the production of scientists and engineers, and we're getting our tails kicked so heavily by the Chinese and the Indians. Right now, the majority of the PhDs granted in the United States come from one university in China. The greatest economic strength that this nation possesses is its ability to mold and shape intellect through our education system. And what you look at when you see that the majority, and this is a true statement since the year 2000, the majority of our graduate students in science and engineering are foreign nationals. So we're exporting the educational strategic advantage that we have as a nation as quickly as we possibly can to those nations that would seek to do us harm with those capabilities. Not only that, but we just got passed by China as the #1 high technology exporter in the world. Some of these facts are just mind-blowing. There's a company called Hanhai Precision Industry. They make computers. They employ more people than the worldwide employment of Apple, Dell, Microsoft, Intel, and Sony combined. And that, these kinds of gee whiz facts just go on and on and on. I think I'm just about done. Is that the end of the slides? Because I gotta get out of here. Yeah, let's get that. I'm done. I would just call it done. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much. Very sobering, necessary glimpse into our future. Good luck with you in all of your endeavors. Thank you for being here. We're going to make an honorarium in your name to Youth Outreach Services, which operates Jewel House in the Highland area, which was the first of its kind to provide a full spectrum of services to help youth get off the streets and find a safer and more stable life. We're also going to find a cup for you, a Rotary cup. Oh, you have one. Okay, all right. Okay, you've been here before, right? Well, thank you very much for all you're doing. It's now time for us to do a drawing that will be shared between the Rotary Foundation, $70 between the Rotary